Now, in context-based instruction, let me highlight these items. Why do we have to use context-based instruction? First, there are a lot of education issues that somehow CBI can be a good can be an answer on it. The overload of curriculum, the fragmented perspective of the content of our curriculum, where students are able to see one chunk to another chunk and there's no form of coherence of what we are teaching. Okay, student transfer of learning to new situations are really important. Okay, the application part of our lessons are necessary. Okay, the learning is not seen to be relevant to students' lives. Okay, and I for myself have been guilty for this. Okay, parang nung high school ako po, ang laging kong tanong sa teacher ko sa math ay para saan yung pinag-aaralan naming parang dy over dx. Okay, at naiintindihan ko, lagi niya sinasabi, for example, nung may mga lessons na kami ng mga integral part is that ang sabi ay pwede mo itong gamitin sa pag-determine ng number of canned goods na ilalagay mo sa isang box. Okay, parang sa akin, it's very abstract pa rin. Kaya minsan, pag umuwi mula sa school, papunta sa bahay, nagiging common joke namin magkaklase, yung pagbayad na meron kaming manong bayad po para po sa 2x squared plus 2x plus 3y, something like that. It may be a fun joke, but it gave me a good recollection nowadays that maybe I was not able to see the beauty of math when I was studying way back in high school, that it has that kind of real evidence, it can be, how do I describe that? It's more of the relevance in the real setting of mathematics. But eventually, nung medyo nagkaroon tayo ng magandang maturity sa understanding ng ating mga natututunan sa math, I was able to identify, for example, the significance of math when we are describing symmetry. That's one of the lessons that I really appreciated when we are coming up with graphs. For example, when my fourth-year teacher was able to provide us ways on relating, for example, the shift of a cosine graph to the left or to the right, meron na siyang binibigay na mga ways on why we have to understand that and relating it to the different, relating it to our, I mean to say relating it to the different subjects, like in physics and even in scientific investigation during high school. Shout out to Sir Arman. Okay. And confusion as to why learn through the subjects of science and math, because science and math are two really abstract. Let's face the fact that most of our students have difficulty in understanding science and math because of the abstract nature of the two subjects. Okay. Now, in that sense, that's why context-based instruction was introduced as a way of an alternative manner of teaching science and mathematics. Yes, po. Okay. Because in this sense, let me emphasize that according to Pilot and Gilbert and another colleague, when they presented the frames or perspective of context-based integrating CBI into the classroom setting, they identify 4 major perspectives that are essential when we are translating context-based instruction in our classroom settings. First is the inclusion of specific settings. Okay, so we have to identify the perspectives of our students, their background, their profile. Okay, at the same time, trying to relate it to the lessons that we are trying to provide meaning to their lives. Okay. Then we also have to consider the behavioral environmental setting enabling actions, of which what are the processes that will be involved as we consider CBI in our classroom instruction. Okay. And we have also to identify the use of specific communication attributes, the language that the students are using. Okay. We have also to recognize this. I remember one advice with me by our former head in the department, Dr. Rebecca Nueva España, when she mentioned that you have to learn the language of your students in order for them to learn the language of our discipline. So immersing ourselves to the lives of our students, hindi naman totally pa-involved ka, but knowing their habits, their likes, their interests, somehow can be our best springboard in order to capitalize and to structure our instruction if we are implementing context-based instruction. Okay? Kasi yung everyday experiences nila, kung lahat ba sila naglalakad, pwede yun ang magiging basehan natin. O lahat ba nagko-commute? Okay? Kasi pwede mong maging benchmark yun sa pag-introduce ng concept ng vectors, example. Or kung malalayo ba talaga sila o malalapit sila sa isa't isa. And then that's a way also of gauging that most of our students will have similar experiences. Okay. And also the idea of enabling linkage to prior and the new existing knowledge. So these are, again, this is anchoring from the perspective of constructivism. Okay. Now, there are four major phases, four major phases of context-based instruction. The first part is the initiation part, okay, or the initiation phase, where we try to identify the situation of which we are providing to our students. Then the discussion or the interaction will take place in the learning phase of the CBI. Okay, and last will be the third is the enhancement of the competence, okay, where the students will be able to apply what they have learned, okay, or they were able to alter their previous knowledge to a more well-established form of knowledge. And last will be the deepening, which focuses more of the appreciation on the relevance of their learning. Okay, now what I wanted to emphasize here is that these four phases are highly applicable and can be translated into inquiry-based instruction if, for example, we will be using either the 6 stages of inquiry cycle or the 5 or 7 E's. So these four are aligned to the different stages of the said instructional model. Okay. That's why in the previous study that I mentioned about the paper of Castillo, he was able to align these 4 phases of context-based instruction using the 5 E's learning of inquiry-based instruction. Okay. Now, let me emphasize also that the last 2 phases are really important. All those 4 phases are really important in context-based instruction because, for example, the initiation phase provides the trigger and promotes interest and engagement of our students. The second phase promotes collaboration and discussion among our learners. And then the third and the last portion provides us an avenue for our students to weigh in, which is more appropriate, which is more relevant. At the same time, we are promoting self-regulation skills to our students and appreciation of what they have learned from our discussions. Okay, so that's why may I also interject that in this case, in the phase of deepening, it is also essential that we provide activities to our students that they will be reflecting on their learning. Okay, because again, learning nowadays cannot be assessed only by using paper pencil tests. There are other means or constructs that will define and presents evidence of our students' learning. Okay, and learning are actuated in different forms and in different levels. Okay, so in that sense, let me emphasize that including or inclusion of self-reflection to our learning activities, to our modules, to our reflection, to our videos are essential. Because in that sense, we are providing avenues for our students to weigh in and to look into what are the key points that they gathered, what are those items that seems to be very difficult to them, and why they have to learn it, and to what extent they may able to apply their learning. Okay. 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 On the other hand, when we proceed to social scientific issues, let me emphasize that the main aim is to develop is the aims of using SSI is encompassing. Let me emphasize on on the second bullet. It's more of focus on empowering our students to handle issues, okay, that will shape that shapes the current world and will determine the future. Okay, in that sense, we are providing learning experiences to our students that what they are learning inside the class is highly related to their everyday learning. And we are also capitalizing the significance of science and mathematics, its role for the development of our society. This has been emphasized in science, technology, and society perspective, that the science provides us perspectives of or principles that describes the natural setting, which eventually drives or influences the technology that we are having right now, we are enjoying right now. But this technology influences the kind of society that we are involved with. And the interaction of society also iterative, because it also influences the development in technology. Eventually, this new technology requires new understanding. That's why there's a new form of new science. Okay, so we see here now that science, technology, and society are interplayed with one another, and we wanted that to be highly relevant to our students in order to make science and mathematics more meaningful to them. Okay, but as I mentioned, encompassing ang aim ng SSI, it's because part of it is we wanted our students to become responsible citizens. And part of it is for them to apply their knowledge and habits of mind in proper perspectives, and how they will be capitalizing the manner that they are learning from our class, taking it out from the context of classroom setting into the real world setting. Okay. Now, I'm not very good into arguments. Okay. But when we are using SSIC, one form of thing that we have to bear in our minds is that we have to be more familiar when we are requesting our students to provide informal reasoning and to do a very good intellectual discourse and to come up with a more persuasive arguments. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 elements. Okay, the claim, which will be the opening statement of our students. They have to provide us and persuade us using data and facts. So that's their grounds. And then eventually they try to link it and make it more legit. So that's what we call warrant. Okay. And then providing additional support, what we call backing, and then indicating the strength of their links, okay, which is our qualifier, and to come up with counter arguments called as rebuttal. Okay. Now, why do we have to do this, and what are the implications of SSIC in our teaching? It's more of stimulating the social and intellectual growth of our students. And lastly, providing avenues for our students to really enhance their metacognition, which is a higher form of knowledge, as we do understand in present psychology of learning. Okay, we have the factual knowledge, the procedural knowledge, and then the metacognitive. Okay, let me come up and ask another set of questions to our participants on how do we really assess our students' learning.